because I don't have all those. I don't have all that material. So once again, we're gonna come back and on page, just the page ratio bet. I don't know if we learned this previously, but what I'm going to do here is I want to familiarize ourselves with the subject that we're talking about, and then I'm going to go to the back of the book. We have seen this before. Do you know where we're at actually? I don't know where we're at.
I have to get the statement.
Okay. It doesn't matter. Let's see. I just found my medicine. Just a second.
Looks like ratio Daled.
Okay. So ratio Daled. Wait a minute. Let's just look at ratio Daled for a second. Okay. Oh, we're starting this one?
Looks like it.
Okay. And in the back, we did the back too? I don't think so.
No.
Okay, I found my medicine. Okay, good. Let's look, for my sake, let's look at this piece to start with, and then we'll go back to the back, try to figure out what he's talking about. So this is on going backwards on page ratio bet. Let's look at what they say. The phrase that we're dealing with is up at the top, Kadisgalian Trin. And then they have this word barais in there. There's some question about what this does, but let's say Kadisgalian Trin baraisa mischavrim b'chad darga, and they're all now on one level. Chad rigsha, this unusual word, chad rigsha, is parsha. So this word rigsha is really hard to say what it is, but it refers to the combination of the right side of Abba Ve'ima Eloyan, and then Yisrael Sabbat to Devuna. He says Chag Rigsha, that this parsha is in order for the person to separate Vav Daled Kalila B'Yud, is part of the Yud. That's an interesting idea. What does he mean? I don't know. So excuse me for going over it again, but I don't really remember it that well. Let's read the introduction. The introduction says, so he says, Achashasam the Vire Inyan Osius Yud K involved the Eric Anpen, and also as they appear in Zer Anpen, Choser Atal the Inyan Binyan Zer Vanuk. V'nis Bar El, he said previously in Osius Chay and Ches and Tes, Besod V'yita Havaya Elokim, that Havaya Elokim made a planting. He planted them. Bivor Ata, so what does this explain? In Hamshachas Mochim Chadashim Al Yedecha V'zivuk Da Abba Ve'ima HaKololim. Listen to some words here, Abba Ve'ima HaKololim, which means that what is Abba Ve'ima HaKololim? Shehem Abba Ve'Yisrael were the two aspects of the right side of, say, this Chochmah line. The top part of it are Abba and Yisrael Sava. Mischavren, the parts of Echad, and they join and become like one. It's like they pull themselves up, and there'll be more energy there. So he says, Hanikra Abba HaKolel. So when you do that, the Ima Savuna Mischavren, and the parts of Echad and Nikros Ima, which is called by the name of Ima HaKolelis. Vayedecha b'mochim chadashim elu na'azach and nesira. By putting that together, it's able to create the energy up above and cause the nesira of zer v'nukva. V'oz chosrim zer v'nukva la'amod ponim b'ponim. I remember there was a phrase that the shefa that comes is called ponim b'ponim, I think. I don't know if that's going to be in here or I know we saw that. La'amod ponim b'ponim. V'yivoyer od ki chiber partsufi abba ve'ima hanal, who sewed his kavlos osius. So this chibor of abba ve'ima we're talking about is the hiskalos of the osius Vav Daled that are found in the extension when you make the milui of the letter Yud, Shel Shem Havaya. Now, that statement, he says, V'oz choser zer v'nuk la'amod panim b'panim. Okay, let's go on. Kad is Galian Trin. Now, so this is the first phrase. When two are revealed, what does that mean? When they are revealed that there is now, I guess they're born out. The Haila they grew, they became their ultimate height. Mischavren b'chad darga. But at this point, even though that they've grown up, they're still back to back. Then what happens is that new mochin comes into ZOHAR v'nok, his part, the half freedom, in order to separate them. V'sod hanesira. That's the secret of the Nesira, v'lahachzirim panim b'panim, and bring him to a condition of panim b'panim. Then it says chad rigsha. This is a you're going to work the word a little bit later, but his chad rigsha. What does chad migsha mean? What does it mean? V'lekach his kalo is called partzufi abba v'eva b'bechinas hargasha achas. So here's the word hargasha. Hargasha is what, like they have one sentiment, one feeling, something like that. The Hainu Abba, but he explains, what is hargasha achas? What does that mean? It means that Abba Yisrael Savim is chavrecha, the parts of Echad Shuhu Abba HaKolel. Another word, he says Abba HaKolel became Ima V'Sevunim is chavrecha, the parts of Echad Shuhu Ima hakoleles. Vaz mizdavkim shnei partzufim hakolelim elo. So when this, in other words, the bottom comes up to the top or wherever they meet, I'm not sure exactly, but it sounds more like that. But when they get into that situation, elo the abba ve'ima, kedei laham shech mochim chadashim lezer v'nukva. Before we begin is parsha. The reason for this is in order to create a situation where the Nesira can take place. Ki partzufi abba ve'ima hakolonim ischavrem rak k'tei l'seis mochin dezer v'nuk. This actually, that's the only reason. Le l'hafrish, in order to separate them, as zer v'anpin mechanuk v'chabesod Nesira. Aval la'acha holedes ha'mochim, but after the mochim are born out, heim chozin the bechinas hakodemis shall arba partzufin, then they go back to be arba partzufin, because you need Yisrael Sav and Tevuna to be mashpia into Zeranpin. Abba ve'ima iloyin of Yisrael Sav and Tevuna, those would be the two separate parts of Abba ve'ima. V'hinech hachiber shall Abba ve'Yisrael Saba, so that chibur that we're talking about there, he says, Saba, the parts of Echad, V'ima v'Tevuna, the parts of Echad. Now he says this idea here, which is this is Vav Dal. This is the same idea. I'm not sure exactly how. Let's say the parts of Echad, Vav Dal Kalila B'Yud. That's the concept of the Vav and the Daled go back and to be, well, I guess, part of the Yud. Who sowed his kalos osius Vav Daled Ba'os Yud. It's the concept of bringing everything back. I guess that the Vav Daled, which is an extension of the Yud, comes back to be part of the Yud, which he's showing it as a Yud Vav Daled. V'inyan v'ha'inyan hu ki os Yud Vav Daled shel Shem Havaya. Hu besod partzufi abba ve'ima eloin. It's the secret. Let's just see the whole name, Yud Vav Daled. So the Yud, which is the first letter, which has a Vav and a Daled in it, it's the secret of the partzufi of abba ve'ima eloin. The Hainu, Yud Peshuta, Roma is the Abba, Va'os Yos immediately, Vav Dav, Roma is the Ima law. It's a reference to Ima because you could make out of the Dalet and the Vav a Hey. Ki Os Yos Vav Dalet, Na'asa Lutsuras Os Hey, that's what he says, Bitsir Dalet al Vav, which is that concept there, Bitsir Hey shall Vav Dalet, and that Shir Hey, which he says is of Vav Dalet, Hu Ima Elor, so that makes Ima Elor. So of Os Hey shall Shem Havaya, Hu Besod Partzufi Yisrael Sabatavuna. So then you say that in the Yud itself is a Vav and Daled, which implies that there you're talking about Abba Be'ima Eloyin. Then he said Va'os Hey itself, though, the letter. Now we were dealing with making a Hey out of the Vav and the Daled. Here we're talking about the Hey itself, shall Shem Havaya, Hu Besod Partzufi Yisrael Sabatavuna. It's that secret. Ki ha'oket shall ha'oz Hey, so there's a little point sticks out in the letter Hey, mitzad yamin, which is on the right side. So let's think about that. He says, mitzad yamin, Roma's the Yisrael Saba. It really is a reference to Yisrael Saba. So he said, v'ata ha'oz Hey, Roma's the Tevuna, v'hine ha'be'esa zivuk, the whole latest of Mochen, Shemischadrim kol partzufim yachad besod abba ve'ima hakololim, and also then that's when that takes place. Again, it's like maybe an atomic reaction or something like that, where you put all the energy together in that way, and they produce a light. Azan nichlal os Hey shel shem havaya b'milui vav daled shel os yud vav daled. Shahut Surah Os Hey B'tzir Daled Al Vav Canal. Nimsaki Os Hey Romez the Partzufi Yisrael Saba, which is really a reference to the Partzufim of Yisrael Saba Tzavuna. Nichlal, so that idea, let's see again, this Saba B'mithlui Vav Daled, you can also find it in the Milui of the Yud, which is the Vav and the Daled, the Romez the Ima Law, which is a reference to Ima law. V'az gam milui vav daled the Ima law nichlal ba'oz yud. So then what happens is all of this comes back and gets put back into the yud. I'm not 100% sure how that works. The phrase is that the vav and daled, which is first you have a yud, it's the pashut, and then you have this split out of the Vav and the Daled. He says that the Vav and Daled actually represent the Hey, and you could put it back into the Yud. That's what it sounds like. He said, Vav Daled Romas, the Ima law, Va'oz Gam Milui Vav Daled, the Ima law, Nichlalas Ba'oz Yud. So his Beshuta, excuse me, the word Beshuta was missing there. So then he said, Beshuta Romas the Abba, which is a reference to Abba. So now everything is back in its root. And that's where we have this phrase, Abba ve'ima hakololim. Ki Abba ve'Yisrael Sava na'asa partzuf echod. So we say that the right line, the split in the right line, I don't know if it's split, but the extension of Yisrael Saba, and he's going to mention Tavuna. Ve'ima Tavuna na'asach b'partzuf echad, they also become one partzuf. Ba'az hem mizdavkim k'dei lacham shechamochin v'tzorach ha'nesira kanal. Now we went through that. I don't know how many times we've been through it, but here we go again. Okay, so now we're going to be back in the back of the Sefer on page Tafshin Hey. So it says like this, Siman Tesvav, Kadis Galian Trin, is that where we're at? Darga, and they join together in one level. So he says the ideas we're going to deal with here, Kadesh Kadis Galian Trin. So that's the first one, when the two are mentioned. He said previously that referred to Zohar V'Nog. That refers to Abba Ve'ima, Kololim that he's talking about. Number Gimel is Chad Ragsha or Rigsha begin Li'is Parsha. So he says that this is really that they bring them to the same level. This word ragsha or rigsha, it's got really what it means. So he said, begin last parsha in order to cause the nesira. Vav dalad kalilin b'yud. So that concept of the vav dalad, which is really always part of the yud, but it has another application, which could mean imay law. He said, goes back to become part of the yud. So let's see what the different mafarshim say about these ideas. And so he says, Kadisgalian trin. Bibir inyan Kadisgalian trin. Now try to explain this. Re bibir hamashula the fi harizal. Look over there. Shin is bayra al pi hadras melech. The Ritzon Lomer. Kashin is galu shnei partsufi zer avanuk. When these two are revealed. The Haino Kashindigadlo Manishlo Kubasim. That's what he wants to say. He said, but revealed means that it doesn't mean unika. It means that actually they've reached their complete and total height. But they're back to back. So when we come to try to understand this, so here's a phrase, Boraisa, when the two of the Boraisa. So question is, what does Boraisa mean? We know what it normally means. He says it refers to the Torah, but that doesn't seem to fit in here. Kadis Galion Trin Boraisa. Re Ba'arav Sham Shehuva Shem the Hadras Melech. So you want to understand this, look over the Hadras Melech. The Ritzon Megalomar Shen is Galo Shnei Partsufi Zer Venuk when they come Hanikoim Torah Shebechzav Torah Shebal Peh. Re Gam B'Ha'aras Khan. Now there's a Ha'ara here down at the bottom, number Aleph. Well, let's go down there and see what he says is going on here. V'lechori Yesh Lomer Od the Halo Khan Ayrecha Keshazer Venuk. So we're talking about that situation. There's still ach ba'ach. He mentioned up above that they've reached their height. So that phrase that we're using here of Torah Shebechsav, Torah Shebapeh, who davka la'achar shechazer v'zera v'nuk la'amud panim b'panim. So maybe we saw this previously, so we're seeing it again. He says it really only refers to a case where they're already panim b'panim. Let me see it again. Those phrases, Torah Shebechsav, refers to the face when they're panim b'panim. He says, where do you see that in Shar Lamed Teves? Is a quote. Now they're back to panim b'panim v'nikra Bulgaris. Then she's called a Bulgaris. So Bulgaris means a woman who's really on her own and ready to be married, but on her own. But Inyanki Bulgaris, it's very interesting here. The Bulgaris is the gematria of the word Torah, 611. Ki oz malchus panim b'panim, because then malchus in the face-to-face relationship in their anpen. That is when they're ready for the yichud. And when that situation happens, she's called the Torah Shabal Peh. Now here, I'm thinking, what's the meaning of the phrase Torah Shabal Peh? Obviously, it means the oral Torah. That's what we call it. But here, the nukva, we understand that the nukva is a recipient. Maybe it means like her mouth is actually open to be able to receive what comes from Zer Anpen Hamaschaberes in Torah Shebechsav, which joins together with the Torah, the Shebechsav, which just my thinking is, it's like he's writing on her, so she's like open to be written on, and he's going to write on her. So that's just a thought of mine. Borgaris, that phrase Borgaris. What is it trying to tell me? What's the relationship between the word Bulgaris and this yichud? He kasher choseres imo panim bepanim. So that's what that means. And now she's an independent entity. I guess that's what a bokeres is in this case. Ki oz kavar yochola lehizdaveg imo zivug gamor shal panim bepanim. She's not a child anymore. She's grown up. V'hidech oz zer anpin nikra Torah shebechsav. When that happens, he's called by that. V'nukva nikras Torah shebalpeh. Hamischavrim yachad, and then the two of them, they join together into one. Umizdavgim, and there is an exchange between them. There's a yichud that takes place to become one. So he says, here we go. V'lechein bogeres begematria Torah ad kan. So we say that this is to tell you that bogeres means Torah. Now, I just want to see it one more time. If a light bulb goes off in my head. Hine oz zer anpin, I went back a little bit, is called Torah shebechsav, v'nukva is called Torah shebalpeh, hamischavrim yachad, hamizdavgim v'lechein bogeres begematria Torah. So then, because of the yichud, I'm not going to say this pshat, is because they're now one, ad kan. But she has to be independent. V'chein rei b'mabu sharing. What's the mabu sharing said? He says, v'ulai yesh lomar, the fee ma sheniz bar b'ha'aras lebir hameshulav irei kan b'hamshachas mochim l'chashlomas binyan kosle zer v'nuk, in order to give each of them an independent back. Kodem chazaras panim b'panim, and that has to happen, or let's say that happens before you get to the stage. First, the backside, they have a complete backside each. And then they come to the stage of panim bepanim of avur be'etz chaim. He says that's in Shar Ches Perik Vov. For Ein Sham v'hinechem mitzad mochim elu. If you look at these mochim, yesh lomer the nechshav kavar bebechinas panim bepanim. They're already considered to be like in a state of panim bepanim. For Ein shekasa be'etz chaim, similar to that v'zechem b'cha'ara zu. So he says v'zel l'shonam. He says. V'ha'ara zu hachadasha hachzira bepanim bepanim, which makes them go panim bepanim. Nimsa ki zu ha'ara ha'muchadeshes he nikras panim bepanim. Now that's where I saw this, so we were reading it again. He said, it's just a little interesting idea. He said, v'ha'ara zu hachadasha, that ha'ara which causes them to become panim bepanim, it's a ha'ara that's called Nimska Zu Ha'ara Chamudashes. It has the name panim bepanim, ad kan, ein sham. Not sure what to do with that. V'lechein nechshavim agavar zer v'nuk lebechinas Torah shebechsav v'Torah shebalpeh. He says that once the mochim start coming, the mochim are by the name of panim bepanim. It's an automatic. I guess it's an automatic causing them to go panim bepanim. The yesh lomer od, and there are those who say furthermore, ki lechein hisgib SIFRA tzniut kan midas ba'araisa. Now he brings in this word ba'araisa. So it's a question of what we do with the horos. So he says, well, these are the two Torahs. Is that what he means? Kan midas ba'araisa. The horos zechava inyan gufe is to really teach you about this inyan itself. What does that mean? The hafal gav the irei kan bebechinas ach ba'ach. Even we're talking about a situation where they start out there ach ba'ach. Im kol zecha kuvar nekroim Torah shebechsav Torah shebalpeh, but they already caused by that name. Now I know that this is a stira in regards to what he said earlier. That he said that when they're in the position before, when they're still ach ba'ach, we don't use that phrase. So he said, the afal gav the irek bebechinas ach ba'ach im kol zecha kuvar nekroim Torah shebechsav Torah shebalpeh. How is that? Kevin shemekablim hamochin alam. In other words, he wants to say that the Kabbalah of the Mochin is not something that takes place instantaneously, but that's what I'm thinking. But it takes whatever amount of time it takes in order to actually turn them and get them into a position where they can be face to face. Hagormin chazaras panim bepanim Armor VH Lumber Ode, like we said, and then there's more about that. Where are we holding time-wise? That's the end of the day. Okay, that's it for today. And that's a sheer back to the SIFRA that Neil dug in. Really beautiful ideas here.